Hi, I am looking into different things I can do in a game using the Ren'py engine. I have made a couple of earlier videos on ideas on how to make a character walk under control of the player. In two earlier videos I have had the character walking in all directions in a 2D landscape. The first dealt with having the character walking from one point, the point at the feet of the character, to another point, the point of the mouse cursor when the left mouse button is clicked. The second video dealt with adding scaling as the character moves further or closer to the camera, this making it possible to operate in a natural way in a background drawn using perspective. In this video I will briefly touch on 3 additional questions. In the description below there will be links to the earlier videos. In the earlier videos the only thing I was using image-wise was a 6-image side view walk cycle that I flipped to have a left and a right walk, and I used one of the images as a stand image. When the character was walking in all directions, the side view images were used even when the character was moving mostly up or down. And this can be absolutely enough if you are using fairly simple graphics. If the player in her mind has accepted that the character is walking around in the room, the game has done its job. However, you might also want to have some walk cycles for other directions. At least you would usually want to have one for straight up or straight down, and possibly for other directions as well. This will give a smoother look to the walking. One way to decide what walk cycle to use at a particular moment is to decide the angle of a line from the character's feet at the start of the walk and the point where the walk will end. To decide that angle, we can use basic geometry and this script. We will have to have the math library imported to do this. With this particular script, 0 degrees points directly to the right, 90 straight down, 180 directly to the left, and 270 straight up. When the player directs the character to walk to a certain point, we can use the angle to pick the best walk cycle to use. Here I am doing this with the character with 4 walk cycles, left, right, up and down. Between 230 and 310 degrees I use the up walk cycle. Between 50 and 130 I use the down walk cycle. Then I use the right and the left walk cycle for what is not used for up or down on the right side, respectively on the left side. You might have noticed that I have not split the sectors for each direction in even shares of 90 degrees. You can do this in whatever way you feel gives the best result. The best result is what is convincing for the viewer. I only used 4 directions now, but you can use the same technique for any number of directions that you might want to have. The second question is about setting boundaries for the area in which the character can walk. Generally speaking, you wouldn't want your character walking on the walls. We have earlier dealt with this in the part of the script that deals with setting the point that the character is to walk to and calculating the distance, which we then use to calculate the length of time for the walk. We then used horizontal and vertical lines to set the boundaries. So, for example, we could set a horizontal line at the X position of 100 pixels, and for each time a goal position was decided that had an X position that was below 100, the goal's X position was changed to 100, making it impossible for the character to walk beyond the point 100 in the left direction. And we could do the same thing to the right side and to the top side and the bottom side, in effect making a boundary area made up of a box or possibly several interlinked boxes. We will now try to do the same thing using a line at an angle. The problem with that is that we do not have a fixed x position for each y position of a possible goal point. We have a different x position. One solution to this problem is to view our line at an angle as the hypotenuse in a right triangle, where each of the two perpendicular sides represent the x and y direction. For each point on the line, on the hypotenuse, we can make a new right triangle with the same degrees. And we will know that relation between the two perpendicular sides will be the same in each of these possible triangles. And we can use this to determine the x position for each y position, and vice versa, of course. Using this and the position of the triangle in the room, we can pinpoint the x position for each y position, and we can use the same methods to make a boundary line that we used earlier. We can of course use it for left, right, up or down. The third question is about a situation where the player indicates a position to walk to that is inside the allowed area, but where there is an obstacle in the way. Here we have an open staircase going down. If the character walks over the edge, it would realistically be falling down the stairs. To avoid this situation and similar situations, I have this method that we can call the two-stage walk. If the character starts in one specific area and wants to walk to a point in a certain other specific area, it will first have to work to a certain predefined point and then to the final destination. We achieve this by setting the final position as a secondary point, and we run a special loop for the walk to the predefined position. And when that loop is finished, we run an ordinary loop where the character walks to what was set as a secondary goal, but now is the ordinary goal. And you will of course have to implement this solution in either direction, whichever of these two specified areas that is the start, respectively the goal area. It is of course possible to expand this method to contain more than one predestinated point to walk to, and you could in fact have a path that a character could walk along. Well, this will be all for now. Between the different techniques in the different videos, you should have the tools for a primitive but workable system for walking around in a room with your character. So for now, bye.